paying an immigration bond. Now, there are a lot of scenarios that may require that you pay an immigration bond, and today we're going to talk about the most common of those, and that is when you know somebody, maybe it's a friend or a family member, that has been detained by Homeland Security and you want to pay their bond so that they can be released. Well, first of all, you need to make sure that they have a bond that's been set by an immigration judge or Homeland Security themselves. But after that, the process has changed significantly in the last few weeks, so we're going to break down exactly what you need to do. So before you go paying a bond, make sure you listen so that you're following the right procedure. So up until recently, the way to pay a bond has always been that you go in person to an ICE office, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and you pay that bond in person. Now, this process can be pretty frustrating because what would happen is that you would travel to this office, frequently several hours from where you live, only to find out that the bond couldn't be paid in that moment or that maybe the system was down and they couldn't accept it. Of course, that would necessitate that you come back on another day, making that same long trip. But now there's a new process, and it's called cebonds, which stands for Cash Electronic Bonds. And these payments are made online. And as of June 1st of this year, it is the only way to pay an immigration bond. Now keep in mind that this system online is relatively new, and sure, it's going to be full of kinks and bugs, and it may be a little bit of a learning curve, but at least you can deal with it from the comfort of your own home. Of course, it is going to require that you have an internet connection, so if you don't have one yourself, you're going to have to travel somewhere where you can find one. Now, don't forget, when you pay this bond, whoever the bond obligor is the person that's going to receive the money at the end of this process. So make sure if it's your money, but you're not the one actually completing this form, that you know this person and trust this person, because they're gonna be the ones that actually hand this money back to you at the end of the day. Okay, so how do we actually pay this bond? For starters, you need to be either a US citizen, a permanent resident, a law firm, or a nonprofit organization. If you're not one of those four, then you're not gonna be able to pay this type of bond. So make sure that you are that before you start the process. Now, to do this process, you first need to have a cebonds account. You go to cebonds.ice.gov, you enter in your name and your email address, and you create the account. Once the account is created, you log into that account and you go to Bond Payment Request. You click that button and then you're going to be able to enter in the detainee's information. You enter in their A number and their name. Now, the A number is the alien registration number, and it's a 9-digit number that your friend or family member should have on their paperwork that's in detention with them. So ask them to look for that 9-digit number. Now, some of the older cases may have an 8-digit number, in which case just slide a 0 to the front of those numbers and you have your 9 digits. Now, for the names, make sure if the person's not popping up immediately that you try different combinations of the name. Maybe you leave a second last name off, maybe you put the last name first and the first name last. Just try these different combinations until the correct person populates. Once the correct detainee is located, you can enter in your information as the bond obligor. You need to put in your name, your phone number, your address, your immigration status, your social security number, and then you're gonna need to upload an acceptable form of identification. Once you've done that, you can put the request in to pay the bond. Now, assuming that you put in this request during normal business hours for that office, which is typically Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. in the jurisdiction where that person is detained. So if you live in a different time zone, keep that in mind. Now, as long as you've submitted it during those hours, ICE says on their website that the request should go through within 1 to 2 hours of submitting it. So once it has gone through, your status online is going to change, and it's going to show that you can go ahead and move forward with paying that bond. Once the bond is ready to be paid, there are 2 steps to complete this process. First of all, you have to complete the contract that is online, and that contract is going to require that you submit the address and the phone number for the detainee once they're released from detention. So make sure you know where it is that they're going to go, and if that address changes when they're released, then you need to update the address with immigration. Once you've completed that contract, download it for your records, and then you can proceed to the payment process. Now, there are 2 ways to pay this. You can pay with ACH or you can pay with FedWire. Either way, you're going to have to travel in person to a bank to make the payment. Before you go to the bank, make sure you've downloaded the instructions for your preferred method of payment, and you take all of that paperwork with you to the bank so that you don't have to make a second trip later. Once you're at the bank, they can accept your payment and you're going to receive a receipt. Make sure you keep the receipt for your records, because the bank is not communicating with ICE, so they are not going to tell ICE that this bond has been paid. You are actually going to have to take the proof of payment and upload it to your cebonds webpage in order to complete the process. Once that proof of payment has been uploaded and received by immigration, it's going to show that it has been accepted and that the person is ready for release. Typically, assuming that this is paid within the normal business hours, that person is going to be released from detention on the same day that you've paid that bond. Now, of course, there's going to be some problems funds in the implementation of this new process. So ICE has created an email address where you can contact them if you have any issues. For example, if you can't locate the individual that you're trying to pay a bond for, or maybe the proof of the bond payment can't be uploaded to the website. So I'm going to put that email address below. As well, ICE has created a step-by-step video where you can actually watch somebody completing this process. I'm going to link that below as well, so you can check that out if you still have any questions. But thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've liked it, hit that like button and subscribe button, and remember to click the bell so the next video that comes out, you know about it. See you next time.